Thank you to our partners at Audi for all their support of the restaurant industry and the Lee Initiative Women's Mentorship Program. This is something that always is challenging for me. When I go to a restaurant that's non-European cuisine, right? So like Indian cuisine, it's very spicy, bold flavors. Like, what do you drink with it? Like,
I've heard beer.
Yeah, and I've heard beer all my life, and I drink beer, but I'm like, sometimes I want more.
Well, I'm not a beer drinker
Right.
because it takes up too much space in your stomach.
I think the same with water, to be honest with you. So that's why sometimes I'm like, I drink water before and then I don't need more water. It's all the space, the real estate is or the food.
So you don't drink water during dinner?
No, never.
Me
Yeah.
either.
And we eat 50% less.
It fills you up.
Yeah, you see, thank you. Oh my God, first time, yeah.
I was just gonna take a sip of water, now I feel bad.
Have another sip of your drink.
All right, so after this, we're gonna have some wine. What would you drink? What
Okay,
would you drink?
let me just get,
Yeah.
so when I was first writing about food, it was that moment of everybody was giving classes on pairings,
Yes.
right? And,
Oh, sure.
and I just ended up in the end thinking, this is just nonsense. You should just drink what you like. And if you happen to like white wine, drink it with beef. If you happen to like red wine, drink it with Indian food.
I'm gonna order some white wine then for dinner. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. This is really awesome.
No, this is great. Yeah.
You guys are both my heroes for different reasons. When I was a young chef, I was going to NYU and I was cooking in rat hole restaurants just to make money to hopefully one day be a chef. And I would read your reviews religiously, and I felt like you were holding my hand through this journey versus telling me what I should eat and drink. And my whole education about fine dining came through reading your reviews.
Wow.
Because I couldn't afford Le Cirque. I couldn't afford to eat at these places. And so I remember the first time that I walked into a fine dining restaurant that I got a job as a line cook. And I remember walking in with confidence because I knew how to act. I knew what to look for. I knew what the great things were about a restaurant. I learned all that from reading your words. And so thank you for that.
Wow, thank you. It was pretty deliberate. I mean, when I first started writing restaurant reviews, I thought that I was young, I was in my 20s, and I was living in a commune, had no money, and I get this job, right? You can write restaurant reviews for New West. And I thought restaurant reviews were boring, so I wrote these little short stories with the food kind of woven through them. And then the LA Times asked me to come be their restaurant critic, and I suddenly realized I couldn't write short stories anymore, that I had to write serious reviews. And I went to the editor. I was like, how am I going to deal with this? Because I am not going to write, order this, don't order this. I don't want to write consumer reviews. You know, this is how you go and spend your money. And I said to the editor of the paper, what percentage of the people who subscribe to the LA Times do you think actually go to these very expensive restaurants that I will be reviewing? And he said, well, to be honest, maybe 1%.
Wow.
And I said, well, I'm going to write for the 99% who don't go there.
That's awesome.
I want to make them feel like they've come to the restaurant, eaten the food. And so it was like very deliberate.
Where did that gumption and that confidence come from to do that, and to come to New York and go, I'm done with that. We're going to do it my way.
By the time I came to New York, I'd been writing reviews for 20 years. And I said to them, I'm really not a fan of the way your critics write, because I feel like they really are. They're writing like they're God, and they're telling you what's good, and that's not how I want to do it. And they said, you can do anything you want.
I remember the moment when you gave Honmura 3 stars.
3 stars, yes.
And that was like, there was like near riots on the streets of the Francophile society, because there at the time you couldn't review a soba restaurant.
Especially one that you had to walk up the stairs to.
For someone like me, it was like, oh my God, finally, someone's taking this seriously. That this is a gorgeous restaurant. They make the best noodles in the entire city, if not the country. And finally, someone's recognizing it in a legitimate way. And so thank you for that too. It was. I remember reading that and it changed my life. I love it. I miss it.
Restaurant.
You know what's
You
funny?
would've
Actually, it
loved
was a gourmet magazine that when you were there, and I remember there was this 2001 edition So I'm in Chile, and I go to cooking school. And I buy this edition, I remember like this the issue, and it's about London. So I still have that magazine, and it talks about Gordon Ramsay, Marcus Waring, and I was like, okay, this is it. And I wrote letters and emails, and then that's how I actually started my journey in the UK. And that was that magazine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
Chile to
Yeah,
UK.
yeah.
And this is our sprouted mung bean salad with some smoked chilies, shredded coconut, and mustard. Peconic snails served with a side of kal dosa. Imagine mini pancakes. You want to just scoop them up, put them on
Or
the
the snails
dosa,
on here.
just
Yeah.
wrap them up. Yes.
I was glad you said that because I
You
was
were
like,
gonna go read. Me too. I was gonna read. I was like, that's a lot of snails.
That's how we eat snails
You're like, how am I
anyway.
gonna eat it?
We're only
Right.
3 people.
And here we go, your
Oh,
gunpowder dosa. Do not use any utensils, don't you dare.
What's the gunpowder mean? Like,
It's a spice blend.
gotcha.
Yeah, and this is the atukari suka, which is a dry, long braised lamb. So you get the crust on the outside, pretty intense with the spices. We recommend using your hands for everything.
that looks
I'm gonna
great.
start over here then. I'm curious about the coconut. This lamb is delicious. I'm gonna grab some for you.
Thank you.
I remember eating at Chumley's.
Oh, you went to Chumley's too?
I went to Chumley's.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
I've been at every restaurant that you've ever opened. So I grew up here. I went to college here, and like Chumley's was our just local hangout. I mean,
Right.
it was shit. And I'm going, why is there,
And
why
it
is there
wasn't
like
just
this
you. Everyone wanted
fine
to
dining
the
chef
same
at
way, yeah.
Chumley's?
Yeah.
So 2010, you come to New York. Were you aware of like the New York media, the food media, the intensity that comes with being a chef in New York?
I knew a little bit about it, and it took me a transition on a few trails that I did, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, what am I going to do? And then, obviously I found a restaurant that was more to my liking with an English chef, that I understand the language a little bit better.
Then you went to Gotham.
Then I go to Gotham.
You go to Gotham. Like one of the most storied restaurants in New York City. That's got the pressure of taking
Yeah, no,
over
it's a lot.
those shoes. So
Yeah.
take me through some of that.
I think navigating through an entire team that was there, I was the only person who left was a chef. So,
So it wasn't your team that you brought in?
No. So well, everyone left. I mean, the kitchen kind of like they trickled down, everyone was leaving.
Was it because you were a woman?
I mean, a lot happened about that, and not necessarily because, a woman came, but for some reason, women are supposed to be slightly more candid and sweeter about the delivery of something. And I'm like, not rude, but I would say, this is not right, you got to redo it.
And we're not talking 40 years ago.
This is literally 2019.
2019
Yeah.
in New York
Yeah,
City,
but you
and
had
you're
a
getting
group
this.
of people that were there for 25 years.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something really quite nostalgic and precious about it, but at the same time, I'm not doing someone else's food.
Exactly.
This is not why I've struggled, worked my ass off, be poor, go through all the hurdles of this beautiful career to go and be like, oh, I get it, it's fine. No, it's not fine. So, I mean, there was a lot of that, and then...
But you
yeah.
got
Yeah.
glowing reviews.
We did. And look, it wasn't just me, it was a team.
In your days of writing, when you were at the New York Times, right? A New York Times review could make or break a restaurant. Now there's social media, there's all this other stuff. What do you think about, where are we with food criticism? Like, I feel like a bad review doesn't break a bad restaurant anymore.
Yeah, not anymore, yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But conversely, a positive review doesn't necessarily make a restaurant. It can't save a restaurant either. Do you agree with that, or is there some?
I think it's completely changed. I mean, when you think about like the days of Craig Claiborne, and Craig Claiborne pretty much invented restaurant criticism in America. So if Craig liked something, boom.
You were a made man.
You were made man forever. It's been gradually getting diluted. And one of the other big things that's happened is that the audience for restaurants has changed. Even when I first started writing restaurant reviews, the people who went to restaurants were rich white people. And today, everybody goes. I mean, restaurants have become part of popular culture. the audience didn't used to be very knowledgeable. And now they really are. I mean,
Especially younger people, I would say.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're not nostalgic about that time.
I am not. And one of the things that I think is really great about now is that when you have a lot of different voices, people have to make up their minds for themselves.
But there's still value to food criticism.
Oh,
don't
I
you
think I
Yeah.
think there's a lot.
Do you miss reviewing restaurants?
I miss my expense account.
When you approach a meal and it's like this, are you looking solely at flavor? Are you looking at presentation? Like what's the thought process as you're like, analyzing a new restaurant?
Well, the first thing is obviously the presentation. I mean, everything here was beautiful. I mean, it was just like, wow. So you're already thinking, oh, this is going to be really good because there's somebody in the kitchen who really cares. And what I start thinking is, oh, I really want to know about these snails. Where do they come from? What an interesting idea. I've never seen snails served like this before, so I'm sort of making a note to myself, go and research snails in India, see, find out, is this a classic dish? When I first started reviewing, I would call up an embassy or the UN and say,
Oh, really?
do you have someone who can come and eat Thai food with me or Indian food?
I was always
with
curious
us?
about that, yeah.
Because I don't know as much as I should. I haven't been to India.
That's smart.
So it sort of behooves you to find out as much as you can.
I don't know if I think so much about presentation. I would think more about temperature and flavor. Yeah.
Because as a chef's mind, you're thinking technique
Yeah.
first,
Yeah.
Do you think
Yeah.
plating is overrated?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when you make something too complicated for staff, it is. But I think when you're trying to disguise, because sometimes I like disguising or things look way more simple with the work I put in, I like that. But not to the point of compromise in service. It's a negotiation. Yeah.
I like that. It's a negotiation.
Yeah.
All right, let's negotiate this dosa. Oh, here, like, Ruth,
In the corner.
we're each getting a
Yeah,
corner.
and careful because it's filled with the potato.
The potatoes are in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, we just totally messed this up.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Wait, let me serve the green. Yeah.
This is their like mint coriander, right?
Yeah, I just love coriander. Yeah. I love spices.
It's so good.
See, I find this whole thing irresistible.
Doesn't it?
Also,
Okay.
dosas are very healthy.
So do you remember there was a neighborhood in the East Village, which we dubbed Little India,
6th Street.
6th Street, which turned out to be all Bangladeshi chefs, I believe. But in my college years, if I had $12, that's where we'd go. It was my introduction to Indian food, and it was a gateway to learn more about it. You think there is still some value today in those kinds of places that, or as some people say, do places like that perpetuate a misinformed narrative about that food, and we're perpetuating an idea or a concept about this food that we should just get rid of?
I think those restaurants are so important for so many reasons. I mean, for one thing, they are the gateway for immigrants. I happen to love Chinese American food. I mean, the food I ate in Chinatown when I was a kid. It's not authentic.
Right.
It couldn't be authentic because there were no Chinese cooks in this country until the Hart-Celler Act. I mean, so you don't really get real Chinese food here until the 60s. There's a kind of snobism that has no place in food. I mean, as long as it's tasty and isn't corporate, there's real value.
New York really teaches you something about all that kind of immigrant culture and food that is really accessible to eat that I would have never known, and it's food culture in a very different way compared to Europe. That until you get here, I would have
You're just not
had no
aware of,
idea.
yeah.
I'm very unaware because you come from this elite sort of vision,
What's the challenge for you to try and introduce Chilean food, which I'll be honest with you, I know very little about.
Right.
And I think there's a huge misconception about, well, it's all just South America.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and
How-
every country is very, very different.
Very unique.
Yeah, yeah.
And so how do you try and approach that? Which I would say most New Yorkers probably today are still like Chilean food. What's that?
What I don't like is the fact if like I'm doing something inspired by Chile, someone's like, oh, she's cooking Chilean food. I was like, I don't.
Right.
You know, I couldn't say that because there's nothing that you're gonna eat at the restaurant. You're gonna be like, oh, I go to Chile, I'm gonna find this. I'm like, no, you're not. I don't really do classical Chilean food.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's below me. It's just more like how I see my profession. It's like we reinvent, we refashion, we get inspired, we play, and I gather experiences of travels and places I've lived into the cuisine that I want to do.
And I'm from here. I was born here. New York to me has always been the beacon
Right.
of food
Right.
for the world.
And it's one of the few places in the country that can really support fine dining.
Yeah.
And Danielle once sat me down and said, and this is why. He said, because I feed the
he's
Japanese
a
at
foodist, by the way.
6,
Right.
the Americans at 8,
Yeah.
and the Spanish at 10:30. So he said, I can turn the tables 3
Yeah.
times. He said, there's not another city in America where you can do
true.
But
that.
I know many places that used to have 3 turns. No one has 3
Yeah,
turns anymore.
That's
Right.
different.
Like New York has died, like the whole like dine scene at late at night, that doesn't exist. You know,
Yeah.
people close the restaurant between, the kitchen at 9:30
But
or
that's
10
you
o'clock.
think that's a pandemic thing?
I mean, I think
Or is
it's
it- is it
it's
more-
like a mix of everything.
Yeah.
Labor, yeah, post-pandemic. I mean, if you can afford it,
Yeah.
why would I have 4 employees, 2 bartenders, 1 manager on the floor, and 3 cooks in the kitchen if I'm only gonna have 5 more tables?
By the way,
Hmm.
that lamb was spicy, and I'm so thirsty, and I want some water. But you said not to drink water, and I'm not, and I'm like dying.
Drink
I'm-
water. Drink water.
that's
Your
what I
body
drink
is
wine,
telling
you see.
Your body is telling you it wants water.
Yeah.
All right, here we have our venison shank cooked in a chettinad style sauce. And here you have a whole sea bass that's cooked in banana leaf.
You want to take a picture, Ruth?
I do.
Wow.
Look how pretty that
I
is.
never had this, so.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty.
I love the smell of banana
Yeah.
leaves when they've been cooked.
Served with the moili sauce. So that's your ponni rice. A lot of us think it's usually basmati that is used. The truth is, in every part of India, you're going to find different varieties. This is
Thank
called a
you.
kal dosa. The word kal means a little thick. It means a stone. So it's a thicker version of a dosa that you had, and it's a replacement for your bread.
That's for you.
This fruit is amazing.
It's really good.
Have you been here before?
No.
I have to admit, I buy these frozen,
Oh, this
and
is
these
so
are so
good,
much
yeah.
better than the frozen
I do the
ones.
same thing.
I'm really loving this venison. It's
Isn't it
Me
great?
too. My mouth is full. That's why I can't talk about it. But yes,
That always mystifies me about Indian food is there's so many spices. It's so complex. It's so layered. I know there's some coriander in there. I know there's some cumin. I know there's some pepper. But when it all combines, it becomes its own thing.
well, it's very magical. I think the use of the spices. The amount.
I find Indian cooking really mysterious. I mean, blooming the spices and
Yeah.
figuring out your own special, blends that only you use.
I think quantities is the key. How much of what do you use?
Did you get a fried curry leaf?
I did.
And this fish is so tender. My mouth is on fire. Is yours?
Yeah. I eat a lot of spicy food.
Do you? Have you ever felt bad about writing a negative review?
The only time I felt really bad was when I was on my first book, Tender at the Bone. I was on book tour. I was in disguise because I was still at the Times then. And a guy came in and with a little boy, a little 7-year-old
Oh, no.
kid, and he pushed the kid in front of me and he said, you need to apologize to him. I was the chef at a restaurant that
Closed.
you hated and I was fired. And I've never gotten another job.
Yeah, but don't bring your kid. That's a cheap shot.
It was a terrible restaurant. It's not my fault that you can't cook.
Oh my God, it's so brutal.
But I
You-
felt terrible.
Yeah, food critics and chefs have always had a love-hate relationship, right? If you love my restaurant, you're a genius. If you
Right.
hate it, you're an idiot. Like
Right.
that's always been the case. And I think it goes in waves. Do you think right now it's a little too contentious?
Way too contentious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote my first cookbook.
Well, tell us about it.
in
What
ni-
is
In 1971. Nobody cared about food.
Yeah,
It wasn't on anybody's radar. Restaurants were not part of popular culture. So there were a few of us who really loved to eat. And we were all in it together. I mean, the chefs and the critics, we all...
It was a collaboration.
It was. Our mission was to make people in America realize that we could have food as good as Europe.
And back in the day, there was, when the restaurants I worked at too, we had all the pictures of the food critics in the kitchen and all, like you don't do that, right? Does it matter to you as much as it did? I mean,
It matters in a way of I think for the team more than just the chef. And I think it gives a lot of pride to a team and it brings you closer when you have a good review. So
interesting.
I do think they're still important. I don't think it should make or break a restaurant though.
Chef VJ, thank you so much.
Thank
you
you,
so
Chef.
much.
Amazing.
Please sit with us.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Nice to see you.
I hope you enjoyed the meal.
already.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was so wonderful.
Thank you.
Really,
Thank you.
I could sit here
It's
for
seriously
hours.
such an honor that you chose our culture and our food and cuisine.
No, but it's so good. I mean, you guys are like
Listen,
killing it.
don't
you
be
know?
so nice. You got a
Yeah.
Michelin star, okay? Don't be so nice.
Yeah,
You're
don't
fu-
be so
you're-
humble. That's true.
First of all, tell us what we're having.
So the one you're having right now is called ilanir payasam. Ilanir is tender coconut, and payasam it's like a kheer, or like Indian dessert.
Oh my God, it's so refreshing.
After all the spicy food, coconut milk is cooked first, and then you're gonna add the fresh coconut pulp and coconut water. And at the end, you're gonna add some like roasted cashew nuts and raisins,
Oh,
and finish with a little bit of ghee. Yeah.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
There's a game in this?
Yeah.
It's like a little treasure hunt in there.
So my mom used to make us as like in a special occasions.
I might need two more.
I can get it for you.
From
Incredible.
start to finish,
Yeah.
just amazing.
Thank you. Like, most of the menu is kind of based on my rural and farm life, like something that I grew up eating.
And where was that?
It's in Tamil Nadu. There's a small town close to this city called Madurai. So I just grew up in a very small town. My grandparents used to live in a very tiny village. So we used to go visit them during school holidays. Such a small, tiny village. There's no entertainment. There's no pastry shop. There's no candy shop. This is how they entertain us. The snail foraging and rice paddy farm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Then the hunting. That's what the venison was in the menu now. And then they take us for fishing.
How did you decide to become a chef?
Growing up, with moms and grandmothers, helping them cooking and going for shopping with them. I had a passion to cook. I mean, I also wanted to be an engineer, but I couldn't afford to go to engineering college. Then I had a passion to be a chef too. Then I chose to be a chef, actually. Yeah.
We have lots of engineers. We need better chefs.
That is true.
I love this restaurant because you have this point of view.
Right.
And we're doing, and I think the next phase of Indian food for America is to understand the differences. Just like we understand the difference between Southern Italian food and Tuscan
Right.
food and Provence food from Provence and Burgundy. It's wonderful to see this. It's wonderful to see like Indian food is
Especially
not
being
just
celebrated, you know?
being
And
celebrated.
especially I'm happy that instead of when you say Indian food, they just call curry. That's how they know about it.
Yeah.
That's just
Do you know how hard it is to overcome those perceptions, which has been built up for decades?
right.
And for you to sit here and to do that with this kind of menu,
As a team, we all do this.
it's fantastic. Like, how do you explain to people what Southern Indian food is? Like, is there something that sticks in people's heads that you can tell them?
First of all, a lot of them thinking that Southern Indian food only vegetarian. There is also a lot of other food
Oh,
besides
interesting. I thought it was the
vegetarian.
North, actually more vegetarian.
No, that's also misperception.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
because
Okay.
it's a huge country. It's a diverse, like a lot of diversity. There's also different community lives there, like Hindu, Muslims, different religions, and everybody has a different kind of food habits. Like if you go to Hindu household, they don't eat beef, and then if you go to Muslims, they eat beef.
Right.
So and then they don't eat pork. That some part of Hindus they eat pork. So it's not like only one particular, like let's say it's not only curry, it's not only vegetarian focused. There are it's a mix of everything. I mean, I'm still learning. I mean, I think I know probably 1% of Indian food stuff right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, man.
yeah. There is
Okay.
so much to learn, like so much to learn. That's one of the reasons we just want to like cook the food like authentically how we used to cook. What we do here is we get all the spices, we roast them, like we do like we blend all the spices in the house, and then we do everything from the scratch. So that's where
But
you
do
can
you have like a special purveyor that you like buying spices from, or like areas that you like it more?
you can get anywhere the same spices, but
Right.
you just have to make them fresh. You just roast
Right.
it and make
Roast
it
it
right
fresh.
before
Right,
you cook it.
right.
You
We
just
do it every day.
Every day, yes.
Wow, really?
Yes, yes, yes.
So
For
that's the trick.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of work. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a labor-intensive thing. It's a lot of
It's a very labor-intensive cuisine.
super
isn't it?
labor-intensive
Right,
cuisine.
yeah.
Like the sambar that you had with the
Yeah.
dosa,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
probably
yeah.
about like at least 40 to 45 ingredients, about 11 to 12 spices.
Oh my
yes,
God,
yeah,
okay.
and all the fresh vegetables, tamarind, tomatoes.
I think that's what's interesting about Indian cooking, that it
Yeah,
has
it's
this,
so much
is
layer of
all your
spices.
flavors are really there, especially the heat, you know?
Right, right.
Yeah.
And Indian food is not just only spicy, there's also so much flavor.
There's some meals you have that are intellectually gratifying, but sometimes leaves your comfort a little empty. And then there's other meals that are really comforting and delicious, but not intellectually challenging. And I think when you have a great meal is when you have both. You satisfy both the stomach and the mind. And your meal today did that.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
That
you
means a
very
lot.
That's true.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, like,
also, the company wasn't bad either. So thank you very
you're
much.
wonderful.
No, thank you. It's a
Thank
great
you.
invitation. Whenever I see you, I always think about that magazine, and then, I love you so much. I love
Oh,
too.
cheers,
Yeah.
everyone. Thank you to our partners at Audi for all their support of the restaurant industry and the Lee Initiative Women's Mentorship Program.
Sydney Fisher was in the third class of mentees. I got to know her working through the relief kitchen in Cincinnati. Doing the relief work really inspired her to give back to the community, and she is now actually a transformation chef at Le Soup. She works with sustainability, really food rescue, and turning it into a nourishing meal for the community. So we're here at Le Soup. I'm so excited. I have admired this organization for many, many years, and I cannot believe how much it's grown. So tell me, what do you do here?
I'm a transform chef right now, primarily making soups. The biggest thing though is to provide food for people in need with food insecurity. We get all different kinds of expired goods. Kroger, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. They all come bring us this product. We take it and we'll either make a soup and transform it, or we give it to local communities. We make about 500 meals a week in a matter of 2 hours.
What does it mean to you to see these sustainable meals that are being rescued going out to people in the community?
There's an abundance to see how much food could potentially have gone to waste without this facility. It's above and beyond my expectations of what I thought I was getting into. It's an education course. I'm still learning every day too. The Lee Initiative taught me that like 10 people can make such a big difference. It's crazy what teamwork and a group of people that care can do.
Megan White was in the third class of Lee Initiative mentees. She really became inspired by attending workshops and working with her mentor in LA. She got into fermentation. So she is currently starting her own miso company, and she is working with Urbanstead Cheese as a cheesemaker.
I started about 4 months ago. It's called Urbanstead because we make cheese here in the city instead of on a homestead. We make Gouda, Tome, Cork, and Cheddar here right now.
I heard you just won an award for your cheddar.
Yeah, second best in the United States.
So I know that you have always worked in fermentation and with miso. What drew you to that line of work?
I started with kombucha and fell in love with fermentation from there.
How have things been going since you left the Lee Initiative?
It's really great to see other empowering women uplifting each other, and I would definitely say it was a good boost of my confidence. Everyone was so willing to cheer you on and support you, and then you can do that for somebody else.
So were you learning a lot about sourcing and sustainability?
Sustainability has always been really important to me. Utilizing as much as you can, right? And what you can't utilize, giving back. So here we can't always utilize our whey, but we give it to a local pig farmer, and she comes in, takes the whey, feeds her pigs, and then there's a restaurant right up the street who takes her pigs and makes burgers with them and uses our cheese on his pig burgers. So it's just like a full circle in the community here.
Do you see yourself hosting one of the continuing education classes?
Oh, I'd love to. I never thought teaching would be something I'd want to do, but seeing how there's so many people out there that don't really know how fermentation works and how you can utilize so many different things, it's a great skill to have.
Thank you so much for having us here today.